Well, that just like put me right in the mood. It's like the same shit. Right. So okay, yeah. There's a wire right in front of the camera. Okay. Like that. There we go. All right. So oh, frustration. It's been a while. How's it going? As you can see, my roots are starting to come back. Pretty long by now. Wow, so a journey I've been on. So there was the vacation, did some snow stuff. Remember back episode 8. This will be episode 9, which I guess is me, I don't not retaliating. Let's turn this thing off. What's the word? When you, feedback, I guess. I had a viewer tell me that he enjoyed watching my videos. Shout out to you. You know who you are. I'm making this because of you. I took the easy way out on the sound today, so I just have my wireless microphone. I don't know how this is going to sound. It's probably terrible, but whatever. I'll set my little studio back up some other time. Maybe. This little podcast idea is kind of funny. I wanted to see it go somewhere, but I just really had no idea where it could go. So, but I'm gonna go back to talking about kind of some of the things that have been going on in my personal life. I was in a production of Madame Butterfly with Regina Opera a couple weeks ago. That was pretty spectacular. I got to do Goro. It was a lot of fun. Got to run around on stage a little bit. Do some singing, but I also got to do some backstage testing of some of my sound equipment, which was a lot of fun. I've been wanting to build a Deca-tree for some time, and so I managed to do that. Matter of fact, here's the clip. It was awesome. I had a fun time putting the microphone stuff together for that. I'm realizing that I am missing some pieces that I would like to improve upon, as well as a number of channels. My mixer recorder only does 6 channels. I use a sound device of 633 typically. Today I'm just running directly into camera. But I use sound device 633 typically, and it's got amazing sound, but only has 6 channels total, which for a good solid orchestral recording, I would like something more in the range of at least 10, so I can put 3 microphones on stage. I would like to put a Deca-tree up above the orchestra, so that's already 6 right there. And then 2 outliers makes 8. And then that gives me two open channels for either spot mics on specific orchestral instruments, like specials, like say the harp or a gong or something like that. So that's where my mind has been the past couple days, and resources, not days, months I mean. And currently, so here's a quasi update, currently I am working through a Pang for Turandot, working with Verismo Opera. That's coming up in about 2 weeks. I was called in January for this gig, and I said no. Or so I was told by some friends that they had opening. I said no. Later on that January, I was asked by somebody else, "Hey, just so you know, if Reasonable's looking for this character." I'm like, "No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to put in the time and effort. I've got some other things on my plate." As well as in film, I've done some ad agency stuff. This is very, 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 very cool. It's been very, very slow, but I'll talk about that next. So I said no in February, at the beginning of February, somebody else told me they would need somebody, and then towards the end of February, someone told me again they were looking for somebody. I said no again. March rolled around. I was in the middle of doing the Goro. Got called again. It's like, no, I'm doing this other role. There's no way I can learn this in this amount of time. I just don't have the heart for it. And as you know, as a musician, artist, everything is heart. You know, if you don't have the heart to do it, no matter how much money somebody could pay you, you're looking down the barrel of a bad production or bad work unless you are willing to commit to it totally. And I mean that's going to be the theme of a talk that I want to talk about a little bit later. Um, so I finished the Goro, the butterfly. It was awesome. Had a lot of fun. And then I get a call like the very next day from the producer director of the company asking me personally that she'd heard from a bunch of my friends and peers out in the opera world. Hey, Ty's the guy. He can sing this. He'd be a wonderful Pang in your opera. He's the guy that you need to call. So she called me personally asking me, hey, we just lost somebody. They backed out last minute. We're really in a crutch. We'd really love for you to come and sing for us. I said, well, I've said no pretty much every single month this year thus far. But you know what? I'll come and I'll sing for you. And if you really like my voice, maybe we can work something out. I went and sang for the maestro, or the maestra and her, and they asked me to sing the role. They said, do you think you can learn this in 2 weeks? 2 weeks is not a whole lot of time, but I will put my best foot forward, and I've committed to it, as one does, fully. Like if I wasn't going to do it, then I wanted to not do it at all, but I didn't want to say yes unless I really thought that I could really commit my time and my energy to learning this opera role in 2 weeks. I don't like showing up to rehearsals on book. I don't like showing up to rehearsals without knowing the music. You know, if we're doing staging, it's time to put the book down and just do the staging. So I was able to do this. It took me about a week to get the whole role into my voice, and then, which really was a weekend because I already had a bunch of gigs already lined up for my film stuff. And then the other side of it, then I had to memorize it all. So of course that took another week to go from on book reading the role to memory on roll. It's about 25 to 30 minutes of actual singing, maybe less. And then there's a lot of, it's Puccini, so as you know, there's a lot of jumping in and singing next to this person that says something, and then jumping in and singing next to this person that says something. So it's a lot of heavy singing, but I managed to memorize the entire thing, and I'm now working with the rest of the cast. We're nailing through the staging, and I think it's gonna be a really, really good show. If you have the opportunity to come on out, it's on April 22nd. Yeah, January, March. Yeah, it's on April 22nd, out in New Jersey. Just look up Verismo Opera, the production there. And then I've also been doing a lot of sound stuff. There's been some interesting things I did. Let's see what I do. I've done a pitch for a film or a web series that I hope comes out. And then let's see, let's see what else have I done. I've done a couple ad agency things. I got to do a tour of the Acme Fish Market in Brooklyn, which was super awesome. I also did a shoot with this pasta making company down in the southern part of town, in the southern part of Manhattan. That was also very, very interesting. To see, 500-year-old, or maybe it was, no, maybe not 500-year-old, maybe like 100 to 200-year-old pasta cutter making fresh pasta. So definitely, when that stuff comes out, I'll see if I can grab clips of it and post it up, or at least send a link to the video, because it's definitely a really neat place to check out. Let's see, what else? I got to shoot at JFK like a week ago, doing a project. Let's see, what else? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Just trying to grow my business as a sound recordist, and then also, work as an opera singer. Which brings me, I think, to my topic here that I wanted to kind of throw some personal insights about. And it's about preparation, number one, and about your commitment to a project. I talk to a lot of people, whether it's producers or just independent funding people who are putting together a film or a project, whether it be an opera or my girlfriend's musical theater or acting. I've got some friends that are professional actors, and one thing that we all kind of realize is there is a threshold of quality that you need to either put in personally in your work, whether that means researching all of the individual pieces of some equipment that you're going to be working with. That does mean reading a manual. That means sitting down and reading from the very front of the manual to the very back of the manual, knowing what every single button does on your machine, to the intricacies of learning a role, whether it be every single word you're saying. Some of the problems that I have sometimes is working with people on stage who don't know all of their words. If you don't know what you're saying, how can you realistically react on stage to the dialogue going on? It is a foreign language, but it is only a foreign language because you haven't learned it. Something doesn't have to be foreign. It can be your language. You can take command of Italian if you're singing an Italian opera. Basta così. Stop this thing. There's a difference between saying something in a foreign language and saying something in a foreign language. There was a memory. I was in Sicily this past summer, and there was a young man I was working with, and we were going through some of our scene together, and I asked him what the words meant that he was saying to me. And he started explaining to me in English. I was like, okay, that's close, that's fine. But then I looked at him, English isn't your native tongue. Can you say this to me in your native tongue? And he looked at me kind of funny, and I was like, yeah, I mean, you're translating this Italian text to me into English so I can understand that you know it, but I'm not convinced that you actually know what you're saying because there's just something in your inflection. I see you speak to me in English. I see you speak to your fellow singers from your country in your native tongue, and I see the way you interact with people, but I want to see you interact with me the same way on stage in Italian. So when I'm singing my words to you in Italian, I'm thinking in Italian these words because I've translated them so many times and worked on them that as I'm saying this stuff to you, I'm not thinking of it, translating it in English to you. I'm now thinking in Italian to you. I'm singing this. But I can see that when you're singing this Italian, you're not singing it that way. Can you, again, translate this to me, but I want you to say this phrase in your native tongue. So he laughs for a second, and then he says it to me in his native tongue. I was like, okay, can you say that again? He says it again. Now, can you say it in Italian the same way you just said it in your native tongue? And he said it. And in that moment, I could see the connection behind his eyes in his character that he actually knew what he said in Italian for the first time. Not that he didn't know the translation, but he understood it. Okay? The reason I'm saying all this is because it's very important to have these elements in place for your personal understanding. If you don't know what you're saying, you're not really singing the part. You're not really in the role. This same thing translates over to my work in film. Okay? If you have a project, you're putting together a project, and you call me to say, hey, I want you to come and do the sound for this project. You need this and this and this. First and foremost, if you're going to hire me, you don't tell me what I need. You tell me what the project is, what are the needs of the project, and then I will tell you, as a professional sound recordist, what I need to give you that product. People don't understand this. They have this idea that they've put the project together in their head, and then they say, okay, well, I know that I need this part of it, so I'm just going to go and I'm going to tell this other person who says they specialize in it what I need, what I need them to bring. Okay, well, that's not how it really works. If I sit and I study manuals and I study sound, the way it works and interacts in a room and all this stuff, I would think that my opinion would be more valuable than yours in terms of a producer saying, "Oh, well, I'm a producer. I have this vision and I want to see this happen." I would never try to get in the way of your vision. That is not my place. I would never try to tell you how to create your project. But what I can do to the best of my abilities is tell you, within the bounds of what you want to create here, this is how it's done the best from my point of view. Being a sound recordist, if you're creating something and you want to have good sound, and this is what you're doing, this is how to get good sound. If you don't listen to me and you hire me and ask me to do something else, when the product becomes, when you sacrifice the product in that way and don't take my advice for it, it becomes no longer something that I've done. This is now a producer's issue that they've created and put themselves in a bind. And of course, because of their position, they'll look back to the sound guy. It's like, well, it's the sound guy's fault. Not quite. I'm literally in talks right now with a company that builds they build sound systems, because I'm really interested in doing a music video for somebody, and the producer's not talking. The producer's not giving me information. I find out later from another friend of mine who's in the business that she's been talking to him too. So this double dipping behavior eventually is going to get someone in trouble. Whether or not it's the people that are having their video produced, the product is not going to come out as good. The producer's going to be in a bind because the last minute they're going to screw over somebody by saying, oh, well, we had this guy that said he could do this thing, but then we gave him all the information at the last minute. He said he couldn't do it because I wasn't given a full picture. So I decided, no, I'm not going to take this gig. These kinds of things, this kind of miscommunication, not sussing out all of the details, is what creates a bad product. Not going through your music from beginning to end, knowing every single word, creates a bad product. This is the frustration that gets me more often than not, is that I really have a pride and joy in what I do. That's why I do it. I love working in sound. I love singing music. And when all of these elements are not in place, it makes for a bad product. It sours my experience, as it were. And I work regularly to try to be as informed as possible in my department, whether it be as a professional singer, whether it be as the guy behind the camera. I want to be as informed as possible so that way I can give and create a piece of art that is worth watching, worth producing, worth putting out there in the world. You know, we live in strange times, and I believe that creating artwork is the only real response to that. And so if you cheapen it, if you cheapen your artwork by not sussing out all of the details and making sure that you know how this is going to go from beginning to end, like making a good solid plan, then what's the point of doing something? What's the point of doing it if you're not going to think it through to the very, very end and see it all the way? If you find a professional that says that they want this amount of money for something, you're like, oh, well, we only have $50 less. Is it really worth tossing out? Is it really worth tossing out a piece of your art? Is it really worth compromising a piece of your creation for $50? This is something that I think many artists struggle with, and I'm with you. I'm out there, whether it's asking for more money, asking for more time, asking for a reasonable rehearsal schedule, etc. You have to fight. You have to fight, and it is your fight. There's no one else's fight. No one's going to advocate for you. You personally have to fight for your right to party. And I'm serious. Like, it's your right to party. Like, this is fun. Our art should be fun, but not at the compromise of the art itself. Not to say that you can't have fun on a movie set or you can't have fun in an opera, but there is a lot of work involved, and that work is, I believe, what makes us do what we do. Now I'm going to throw you to my. This is the complete and total opposite of everything I say. I put together my little reading that I've been working on. So here's some more of the story. Y'all have a good one.